of the Southborough Select Board, and this is just a one item Zoom special meeting to discuss the special town meeting date. We had at our last meeting picked Saturday, February 28th for this meeting, and that proved to be a problem because there's a conflict with a play at the Neary students are organizing at Trotter. There's actually two performances of it that day, so that caused that's a conflict that I don't see that we'll be able to resolve. So, called this meeting to pick another date. And before the meeting, Mark and I had talked with our town clerk, town moderator, etc., about different dates that we could consider. So we've kind of narrowed it down to the following, and these are dates when we know that our AV vendor would be available. Monday, February 23rd, Monday, March 2nd, and Saturday, March 7th. And you might remember we originally had selected March 7th, but then Paul Semino, our moderator, was not available. I've talked to him and he said he would be here and can speak to whether he could make it another, plan so that he could either be there or have someone else preside over the meeting. So, and I also see we've got Chelsea and Greg and Jim's here as well. So, to kick off the meeting here, I've given this a lot of thought. There's no perfect date to select here. And I know that one problem that we've had with the Saturday, March 7th, which is sports are not done that day. I know that my daughter does basketball and there aren't games scheduled now, but there's potential playoffs that are that weekend. So a downside of doing it that day is potentially losing some parents. My preference at this point would be to go with Monday, March 2nd. I know that I initially had some hesitation about doing it on a weeknight. And Al raised a good point in our last meeting. It's a because we have multiple articles on this warrant, although they're about the same topic. We're not sure how long the discussion is going to go, but I'd like to think that if we had a Monday meeting that began at 6:30, we'd be able to wrap up a discussion about this in 3 hours. And we have had a good, successful experience with special town meetings on Monday nights recently. So that's my 2 cents about it. And Marguerite looks like she had dropped off, and she just called me while I was speaking. So
She's
I'm
in
gonna
the
call
attendees.
her.
She needs to
Pardon
be.
me?
She's in the
Okay.
attendees.
Yeah.
She's gonna
All right,
move.
Vanessa, can you bring her back in?
Thanks. My
Okay.
connection is shaky this morning, so I may have to finish by phone, but
Okay.
okay. Thank you.
Okay. So I thought that Paul Semino was going to be here. I don't see him. Oh, here he is. Okay,
He's
good.
there.
All right.
Do you want me to
Okay,
bring him
so with
over
that,
or anyone else?
sure. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to go down the line here. Tim, what are your thoughts on what date we should pick?
I mean, it's inconvenient either way for a parent to make it to this. So, I mean, the second or the seventh would be okay. I mean, if there's a plan for how to handle this without Paul, I'd be okay with either date. Or if Paul can make it, but you had two
Tim,
options.
do you have a preference?
I mean, I prefer the Monday if we think we can handle it all on a Monday.
Al?
I'm leaning towards the Saturday only because I'm skeptical that you can do this in 3 hours. If you recall, the single article went 4 hours, and so and I'd prefer to get this done in one swell swoop. So I think I'd be leaning towards the 7th. I think I'd like to understand from Paul what his current status is regarding the 7th versus the 2nd.
You guys hear me okay?
Yes.
So I am having a little camera trouble, but I'm trying to make it work. But in the meantime, oh shit. Okay. In the meantime, okay, so look, the 7th is since the first day you guys thought about the 7th months ago, it has not been viable for me. Never was. Going to be out of town, long planned, event out of town. So I am not available in any capacity on the 7th. That being said, there I am. That being said, I have somebody to moderate on the 7th, if that's the way you decide to go. I had said to Andrew, I prefer you guys pick the 7th if you think it's the best date, without reference to who's going to moderate. I think we don't want to have any, sort of. I mean, obviously you'll know before the 7th. You'll know as soon as you pick that date, frankly. But I wouldn't want that to sort of, I don't know, have any sort of impact on the selection of the date. The person I have in mind has done it before, has filled in for me before, and we'll be able to manage just fine. So
Paul, doesn't the town meeting have to approve a replacement moderator? Am I crazy?
That would be the first thing we do.
Okay.
The first thing that would happen at the very beginning of the meeting is if for some reason the majority of the room had heartburn, then we'd have to have we'd have to go a different direction. I don't anticipate that at all. But Jay Tallerman would be ready to manage that process.
I think the seniors would prefer Saturday.
Andrew, is Jay available both nights or both days?
I don't know whether Jay is, but I know that a combination of either. Mark may know the answer.
I don't think Jay was available personally on 3/2.
And he's got a standing Monday
Kate
night
Federoff
commitment.
could be.
He's got a standing Monday night commitment. We know that, so I'm not surprised to hear that.
Well, if Jay isn't available, Ms. Leiden certainly is. And
Yeah.
She seems quite
Or
confident.
Kate Federoff.
Kate Federoff.
Yes.
Okay, so Kathy, what do you think?
I'm trying to pick the date that I think we get the most people there and a representative group, which means parents and seniors. I'm surprised that Tim. I'm listening to Tim. And Tim, we've always had this problem with parents with kids. I used to have a kid too, so we hear you as far as this is not great, but this is how our government works. I would have thought that you would have picked Saturday, so I'm surprised you're picking Monday. I get the basketball thing, but I've talked to the senior center. Pam thinks that seniors would much prefer Saturday because it's not dark. Remember, March can still be snowing. However, the Dolmans Club, when they were surveyed, picked a Monday. Now, they didn't even know what the topic was. Let me say that. So I'm going to throw that one aside for a second. He didn't explain what the meeting was going to be about. But Peg, who does seem to, she knows what's going on there. She thinks that Saturday's better for seniors. I'm with Al on that one. I can't believe that parents want to come out on a Monday school night with kids. I don't think this is the same as the town meeting in May. We're not trying to pick the project here. So I do think we can get this done in 3 hours if we are organized and ready to go and can really explain very concisely what we're trying to do here. So that's on us to be ready for it. So I still think my Saturday's better than Monday, but whatever the gang thinks is better, I will go with.
Paul, just to follow up on Kathy's comment there. What we envision are 4 different articles, okay, which correspond to different possibilities of projects to study, that all have to do with the same topic, okay? I assume that we could, early in the meeting, have a motion to combine the articles for purposes of discussion, which would be a way of making the meeting more streamlined. Is that correct?
Can you explain just briefly why 4 separate articles in that case?
Okay. Well, there's one article which, if passed, would take care of the whole thing. Although there would be basically, you have articles 1, 2, 3, and 4, and if you pass one, then the only other thing that would need to be voted on would be whether to fund a replacement of the roof of the building. But the first building, it would ask town meeting to authorize studying different options. One is a renovation of the school, the other is moving a grade to Finn, et cetera, et cetera. So does that give you some more context to this?
Well, I'm wondering if you're telling me if Article 1 passes, then 2, 3, and 4
Yeah,
are moot.
Moot. Yes.
Well, then why isn't the consideration of Article 1 the same as discussing all 4?
It is the same. So I'm just saying that I
So
think
why
that
are
we
we
could,
combining them? Let's just discuss Article 1.
okay, I see your
Well,
point.
if someone were to want to amend Article 1 and remove one of the 3 choices, we're trying to get money approved to study 3 options. So call it $1 million. We want town to approve $1 million to study 3 different choices of how to fix the Neary problem. So if someone were to stand up and say, I want to amend that article and remove option 3 and replace it with this option, you're probably not going to want to say this today, but is that going to be in the 4 corners? That's why we added 2, 3, and 4, because we didn't know if you would allow amending the first one, to remove one, replace it with something, or it has to stand as it is.
Well, is the dollar figure in Article 1 a lump sum to study everything,
Yep.
or is it broken out?
We are working on the proposal, so my guess is we'll have a lump sum in one, and then we'll have that allocated among the 3, 2, 3, and 4, so you can see what each one would cost to study.
And theoretically, Article 1 would be some kind of efficiency cost savings to it. So I would hope that number would be represented as a slightly smaller sum than the culmination of the next 3 articles individually.
You would think so, Tim. I would agree.
Yeah, I don't see amending 1 to remove an option, especially if within Article 1 there isn't a clean sort of how do you let's say how much is it, Kathy? $1 million in Article 1?
It's my number, so that's an estimate right now. That's all it is an estimate. We don't
All right,
have
so
a
if
number.
I'm amending Article 1, I want to say, okay, but they can't study option 2. How do you reduce that $1 million number accordingly? Is that
Yeah, so maybe, 1 has to stand like it is, no amendments, and then if you want to amend it, the way you amend it is to vote it down and then go to 2, 3, and 4.
right?
So
Right.
that's why the moderator is going to be very important, Paul, to explain all this. So, we get this done without chaos.
I mean, I'm not sure what I gathered as much.
Okay. Well, I'm sure you've picked someone well, but
Yeah, I've said I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about who the moderator is. I'm sorry if you hear my dogs.
Well, do any of our attendees here who are not members of the select board wish to comment on this? It seems like we still have a couple different options floating around there. So please feel to raise your hand if you want to speak on this.
So Andrew, you said the second, Tim said the second, Al said the 7th. I said I'll go with where the majority goes. Marguerite said what date?
I'm leaning towards Saturday the 7th, but I'm not gonna die on that hill.
Okay, Chelsea?
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear
Morning.
me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
So the school committee had submitted a letter to you a couple of weeks ago requesting that we select a date earlier than March 7th. And the reason for that didn't necessarily have to do for a Saturday versus a weeknight, but was more in reference to the timing between March 7th and annual town meeting and having time to react depending on what the vote comes out on at the special town meeting. I think when we had spoken at our joint meeting, I had shared with you that from a family perspective, no weekend or weeknight is really convenient for families. I think during the week you would potentially get one parent and at least some representation from each family household. And on a weekend, you risk getting 0 or maybe 2 if there's no family commitments on that weekend. And I'll just reference something that Andrew mentioned earlier. We have playoff basketball on March 7th, and we've been able to host playoff basketball last year at Trotter and Finn, and it was an enormous success. So if we were to have special town meeting back on March 7th, then we would lose the ability to host basketball playoffs. So my school committee's preference was to move it earlier than March 7th. We didn't specifically talk about February 23rd or March 2nd, but if those are the two options on the table, then school committee would prefer one of those two.
March 2nd, March 7th. So Chelsea, sounds like you're voting for the Monday instead of the Saturday. As far as going early, we just don't think we can do it. You got school vacation in February that basically it's not just a week. You've got the people leave early. They may come back late. So that really takes a big chunk out of February. We definitely don't think we just don't think we'd be ready. We've got work to do to get ready for this meeting as far as making sure we understand what we're specifically asking for in this study. So I hear you, but I don't see how we do it before this. That's why we picked February 28th is because we were trying to move it up a little bit for you. But with school vacation plopped in the middle of February, I don't see how we do it before March 2nd or March 7th.
So I think March 2nd is fine, Kathy. It gives us another full 4 days in addition to the couple of weeks. Mark, do you know when the warrant will close for annual town meeting?
Not offhand. I will have to. I've got to go back and take a look at that just to make sure that we.
Question? Jim,
Well,
do you
we've got to
know
make
the-
sure we accommodate, the time required for citizen petitions in the bylaw.
But we also control that. We got to get it printed, but we control that too. So we understand why it's important to make sure that the special town meeting dovetails into the annual town meeting as far as what needs to be done.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to comment on this?
So Andrew, it looks like I am Justice Kennedy. I'm the tiebreaker here. So I will do, given what Chelsea just said, given how important it sounds like the basketball hosting playoffs is to that group, I will support the second.
Right. I move that the board hold our special town meeting on Monday, March 2nd in the evening at 6:30 p.m. Or sorry, 6 p.m.
Second.
Okay, 6 or 6:30. We
Um,
haven't said 6. We could do.
I think 6 probably is better. It gives, there's always some time where after the schedule start, people are starting to still, settle in. So let's say you say a 6 start time and then you actually really get started closer to like 6:20. I think that works best.
Jim Haggerty.
Yeah, Jim, what do you think of that?
Sure, we can get it done. But in terms of signage and publicity, you guys need to give me a firm start time today on that. I need to order signs. I need to get the banners up, such. And just to put this in perspective, you need to sign this warrant by February 13th.
Okay.
Yep, Friday the 13th. Sorry to put the.
An auspicious day.
Yeah, but just to give you a perspective of the narrow window you have. So I will order signs today and start lining up the people. The vendor is good to go with that Monday AV, and Trotter is good to go as well. And if we have to come in on the Sunday to set it up as well.
Yes, Jim?
We said that we were going to do 6:30 for the last special town meeting, and we didn't really get started till almost 7:30. So if we wait for the crowd, if there is a crowd, which likely there will be people coming in, do we have the ability to start as soon as we have a quorum and start to move into these articles so that way we can stay on time for the night? Or are we going to wait for the whole crowd to get checked in, because it could push us back quite a bit? So I just want to kind of understand what our logistics of the beginning of the meeting, which takes about 20 minutes, explaining town meeting, all that sort of stuff. When will that actually start before we get into the meat of the articles?
Well, if that's a concern, I'd plan for the earlier time, because
Yes.
our practice has always been, look, the folks waiting in line are not in line because they arrived late. They're there on time. There's just a long line. We're not going to penalize them. So the last person in line at the time of the designated start time gets to come in. So if you want to accordingly make your start time earlier, I suggest that you do that.
Agreed.
We will not start with people in line on time.
Well, so that's a great point. Is start the first article or explaining the rules of how town meeting works? Because to me, start would be the first article, not necessarily the explaining of town meeting, the Pledge of Allegiance. That part takes 20 minutes. So when we had set that before, we had talked about start was the first article. The beginning was explaining what's going on and how everything functions. So the two are, in my mind, were independent of each other. We were just trying to help that first 20 minutes get taken care of.
Yeah, I don't. I don't think of them independently. I mean, the people in line deserve to hear how town meeting works as much as the people sitting.
Just like every other
It's not
public meeting.
administrative.
Yeah.
It's not
Just-
administrative.
Just like every other public meeting, the meeting starts when the gavel drops.
Right.
Our
Jim?
job is to encourage people to be there on time. Just really hammer in how important it is to get there on time to get started. Our luck would be if we say 6, that we're ready to go at 6:30. That would be, I think, a really good thing, because you got people coming home from work, getting kids fed, getting things set with babysitters, whatever. So I would hope we could get started by 6:30.
I think we'd be lucky to get the parent crowd into the room anytime earlier than 6:30 to 7 o'clock.
So if we say 6, we can count on it, the business actually starting at 6:30 or later.
Jim, you've had your hand up for.
Couple of thoughts. First of all, we went back and analyzed why we had a line at the last town meeting, and we just had a flurry of people that showed up 10 minutes before the start of the meeting. We had several hundred people came in that window. But we've identified a way that we can eliminate one of the steps that was slowing people down. So we can make the process substantially faster. We'll still have 30 people helping us at check, and we'll make that work. But Tim brought up an interesting point. When you look at who shows up at what window of the night, and this is just not statistic, just my observation. You got kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation here. If you have people working in Boston or people with children trying to feed them to get them on time, and if they're not going to be the seats at 7 o'clock, they're not gonna be there at 10 o'clock either. They're gonna be gone and going home. So that's just the nature of town meeting. That's just the nature of having anything on there, a weeknight. Somebody doesn't want to stay after 10:30 if they have to go to Boston. So I just think that you guys just need to plant a flag in the ground and say, we're starting at this time and we move forward. And we will do the best we can to get everybody as quickly as we can.
Okay. So with all that in mind, I think six is probably a more realistic start time to begin than 6:30.
Yep.
Okay. So I think we had the motion again is to hold a special town meeting on Monday, March 2nd at 6 p.m. And I think
Second.
Marguerite had seconded it. So do a roll call vote. I. Tim,
Yes.
Kathy, Marguerite,
Aye.
and Al.
Aye.
Okay, so that's when we'll hold the meeting. And there's no other topics on the agenda for this meeting, so I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Dennington, aye. Flynn,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
Landry,
Aye.
and Hamilton.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.